Hello and welcome to Dinky Detectives. Our story today is Hansel and Gretel. So if you are sitting comfortably just like Jasper, PC Ted and their friends, then I think it's time to begin. Many years ago there lived two children, one called Hansel and the other Gretel. They lived deep in the forest with their father. Their father was a woodcutter. That meant that he spent all his day cutting down big trees. Their family didn't have much money, but their home was always cosy and warm. The children always had soup and bread to eat. They never went hungry. In time, the woodcutter met a lady. He fell in love and they got married. Look, there she is. They all lived together happily in the forest. That was, however, until a really, really bad winter. It snowed and snowed and snowed, which was brilliant for Hansel and Gretel because it meant that they could build lots and lots of snowmen. Look, here's one they've already built. But because the winter was so bad, no food could grow and the family were getting very, very hungry. But their stepmom had an idea. One day, while the woodcutter was out cutting wood, the stepmom called Hansel and Gretel into the kitchen. "There's not enough food to make soup for dinner," said the stepmom. "We will go hungry tonight. Go into the forest and pick some mushrooms to make a mushroom soup. I know where the best mushrooms grow." She then gave them the most confusing directions. Listen to this. Walk north for 2 hours. Turn left at the tall trees. Walk east for 20 minutes. Continue straight ahead. Cross the stream. Turn right into the main road. Go through the hole in the fence. Walk under the bridge, but watch out for the troll. And then 3 miles inside the forest, you will find some mushrooms under a tree. So now go and be back in time for dinner." Hansel and Gretel were scared. They knew the forest was deep and dark, but they really wanted to do their best to help. "Don't worry, I have a plan," said Hansel to Gretel. He went to the back of the house and filled his pockets with pebbles from the garden. The two children started walking, following the directions. Every step of the way, Hansel dropped a little pebble on the ground. They walked for hours. Do you think they found any mushrooms? They'd walked for hours, but they didn't find any mushrooms. "It's almost night time. I'm scared," said Gretel, crying. "Don't worry, I can find the way home," said Hansel. Hansel waited until the moon was bright. The moonlight shone through the tall trees and made his tiny white pebbles glow. They followed the trail of pebbles all the way back home. Their stepmom was a little bit upset because she didn't get any mushrooms, and so the children had to go to bed hungry with no mushroom soup. Never mind, they can try again tomorrow. The next morning, after the woodcutter left for work, the stepmom woke the children up. Wake up, wake up! Today is your father's birthday. I want to make him an apple pie for his dinner. Go into the forest and pick some apples. This time, though, I'm going to come with you too, because I know where the big apple tree is." She gave them a loaf of bread for their lunch and hurried them out of the door. But because she hurried them out so fast, Hansel didn't have time to collect any pebbles. But clever Hansel had a plan. He didn't eat the bread for lunch. Instead, he tore it into tiny crumbs, and every step of the way he dropped a crumb to mark the path. They followed their stepmom down the path, round a corner and through the forest. "Further, further," she said. They went deeper into the forest. They turned left. Which way's that again? They turned right. Further, further. Finally, they stopped, and their stepmom sat down for a rest. But she said, "The apple tree is just over there. Off you go, you can't miss it." And the children walked deeper into the forest. But they didn't see the apple tree. But they kept looking while their mother had a nice rest. Hansel and Gretel walked deeper and deeper into the forest, but they still didn't see the apple tree. And then they turned round to find their way back. But guess what? They were lost. They had no idea which way to go. "Oh no, we're lost," said Gretel, crying. "Don't worry, I have a plan," said Hansel, and he turned round to find the crumbs. But they were gone. The hungry birds had stolen every piece of bread. "I'm scared," wept Gretel, "and I'm cold and hungry. I want to go home." "Don't worry, everything will be all right," said Hansel, trying to be brave, but he was scared too. That night the children slept in some soft bushes to stay warm. When they woke up, the sun was shining, the birds were singing, and there was a sweet, delicious smell in the air. "I am so hungry," said Gretel. "I think I smell cookies." "Look," said Hansel, pointing. "A house!" It was the strangest house they'd ever seen. The walls looked like yellow lemon cookies. The windows looked like they were made of chocolate. The roof looked like it was made of green and red candies. Hansel was starving, so he ran to the house and broke off a piece of the walls. "It tastes like a lemon cookie," he said with surprise. Gretel grabbed a piece of the window and stuffed it in her mouth. "This is chocolate." The children could not stop eating. "We'll stay here forever," Hansel declared, crunching on an apple pie porch. They were just about to try a piece of purple candy door when it quietly swung open. "Hello," said an old woman from behind the door. "Do you children like sweets? I have more inside the house. Come in, don't be afraid." The old woman looked kind and friendly, so the two children went inside. Oh no, bad idea! The old woman was not kind and friendly at all. She was a witch. As soon as Hansel and Gretel were inside, she slammed the door and locked it. The children were trapped. The witch grabbed Hansel by the wrist. "You're too thin," she said. "I must fatten you up before I eat you." And she threw Hansel into a cage and locked the door. My word, I hope she doesn't eat Hansel. I'm sure somebody will come to the rescue. Let's see. She turned to Gretel. "Foolish girl, you will do the house chores. Then I'll eat you too." Oh no, this is a really greedy witch. She's going to eat both of them. Hansel began to cry. "Please don't eat me," he begged. But Gretel stayed calm. "Don't worry. Someone will come to the rescue, I'm sure. The children are in a bit of a sticky mess in this sweet-covered house. But Gretel was right, because to the rescue came our very own PC Jasper. Because when the children got lost, Jasper was sent for because he could use his brilliant nose, his sense of smell, to sniff out where the children had gone. And he'd followed their smell all the way to the house and went in and rescued the children. Jasper to the rescue. He then took the children back home where their poor father, the woodcutter, had been really, really worried. The woodcutter was so happy to see his children. My sweet, sweet children, where were you? Hansel and Gretel told the woodcutter the whole story, and when he heard that they'd been so lost and so scared, he was so glad that they were all home together, ready to celebrate his birthday. And as for the witch, well, PC Jasper made sure that she went to the police station. And they all lived happily ever after. Thank you everyone for joining us for our very first digital Dinky Detectives. Hope you enjoyed our slightly different version of Hansel and Gretel. Bye bye!